Liberty Sanctuary is a volunteer-based equine nonprofit organization located on 80-acre ranch in Heber City, Utah. Joining us this morning to talk more about Liberty Sanctuary is Deborah West, founder and director of marketing and communications for Liberty Sanctuary. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You've undertaken a large task and mission with Liberty Sanctuary. Can you talk about what Liberty Sanctuary is and how it began?
Yeah, absolutely. So unfortunately, as a country, we've really betrayed the American equine. And we learned thousands of healthy young American horses are sent to slaughter every year outside our country. And when I learned about this in detail, and I've been an equestrian for a long time, many equestrians that we've come across are also just kind of opening their eyes to this. We decided we needed to do something. So we had land in Heber, and the mission just viscerally struck me, and we started rescuing equines starting in the end of April, actually just this year, from Bowie, Texas, was our first 10 horses. 9 horses and a mini donkey came from Bowie, Texas, and those animals would have been dead by now. They would have been dead in April. And so that's really the genesis of how things started. And we wanted to bring them here, make the public familiar with the issue, make our lawmakers familiar with the issue. So hopefully they can help us to do more and to pass the SAFE Act.
Now, why would these horses and the donkey be in a pipeline that would lead them to being slaughtered?
You know, it's a variety of issues, but, you know, this is a money show. So really the very top issue is financial. This is a market, and it's actually become an artificial market because the animals that are surrendered have homes they could go to, but they're sent into the slaughter pipeline because they feel like that's the only option for them, and that's not an option. There are also some horse owners who bring their horses to auction thinking that they'll have a payday, but they don't realize that they're jeopardizing that animal's life, because in that auction there's also a kill buyer, and the kill buyer will purchase the animal, horse or donkey, and if the price is right, which happens sometimes, the end of a night, the end of an auction, not every horse, sells for $20,000. And when a horse does kind of fall below that threshold or doesn't get sold, that horse is in jeopardy and vulnerable to enter the slaughter pipeline.
So there's a value to the horse. You mentioned a concept of a kill buyer, which sounds like a rather sinister term. A kill buyer is someone who perceives a value of the horse for the purpose of killing it?
Yes, absolutely. So the wholesale price for horse meat is between 63 cents a pound and $2.22 a pound right now in 2023.
And again, I'm aware enough of taking care of equine animals that they're not inexpensive to care for either.
They're not.
So what is a common cost to take care of a healthy animal?
Well, we put, for the sanctuary, you mean? Yeah. So we put a value right now, like it's probably about $800 a horse a month.
Okay.
But this is just work we have to do. The American Equine has been our partner in developing the country and in work and play, and it's just not right for us as a country. It's not moral to abandon them at this stage. And we have, just to give you an idea, we mostly focus on rescuing younger horses. The youngest horse that came to us was 1 month old. He was born in the kill pen. And people just don't understand that. And so, it's why we're here. We actually had a meeting on Friday. Congressman John Curtis sent a representative, Larry Ellerson, and he wanted to learn more about this issue and to have the animals here on property and see the progress that they're making. These are valuable equines. They need work. They need attention. They should have had the foundation put in them in the first place. And we're here to do this. And other sanctuaries all over the country who we coordinate with are here to do that as well. So there are resources.
That's interesting. Are there a network of similar sanctuaries around the country?
There are. And we're also working on something called the Equine Assistance Network that would help connect the dots for people so that if you are a horse owner in need and maybe you lost your job, because this is what happens. Again, back to economics. Horses aren't inexpensive for anyone to care for, but you make that commitment to this animal. And so we're trying to create more of a clear network, so that the horse owner, if they lose their job, maybe they could go, maybe 3 months of hay would help them be able to hold on to their horse. Or, maybe a sanctuary like ours could, help out from time to time. But people don't really understand where the resources are. And I've learned that sort of coming into the issue newer, looking at it from the other side, looking at it from both sides, because there's definitely a need, and everyone we talk to across the country acknowledges that.
And just, talking about, caring for animals and inflation, I had recently heard a report about just, dogs and cats and the increase in people turning them over for adoption because inflation has increased costs. And I could only imagine that with the care for equines being so much more, that's the same that's being faced in that area.
It's a challenge, and especially in the West, where hay is a lot more expensive than it is on the East Coast. So it's like double the price here.
Really?
Yeah.
And is that just cause?
It has to do with the land, the water. Water in the West is always a challenge. So, that's, growing anything, it just winds up being a little bit more challenging here.
Makes sense.
So, yeah.
Now, you're a relatively new operation. How long did it take you, and why did you decide to become a 501c3?
So we launched, we hired help to become a 501c3 back in November. And we did get our 501c3 status finally in the spring. It has helped quite a bit as far as fundraising, attracting sponsors. Like, we have great sponsors here in Park City. J.W. Bennett and Russian River Vineyards, for example, are some standing sponsors. And also even getting the attention of volunteers. It just creates a legitimacy, and then just helping to get the word out,
And you had mentioned that you actually did hire to be able to receive assistance to figure this out. How difficult was it to get the 501c3, and what pieces, were you not aware of that maybe took a little more time?
Yeah, the process wasn't very difficult because I acknowledged that it was probably better to hire a professional. I think it would have been more challenging if I did it myself, but we needed 3 board members and clear mission, and we left the rest to the professionals.
Now, you mentioned that charitable status has facilitated fundraising. Talk to us a little bit about how you go about fundraising and what kinds of activities you've undertaken and what you plan in the future.
Absolutely. So we did do an in-person fundraiser in the summer in July, and that was great. Well attended. It was our first one, so we didn't really know what to expect. We're already planning our second one, and we also do a lot of fundraising and create a lot of awareness online. So we have a website, libertysanctuary.org, and we're on Facebook and also on Instagram and a few others. And so we also do promote different fundraising around, like we recently rescued 12 baby horses from a Wyoming roundup. Just when I thought we were done for the season, this horrible, thousands of horses were rounded up in Wyoming. And so we took 12 babies under the age of 1, basically, that were separated from their moms. Their moms were sent to slaughter in Mexico the day prior to them coming to us.
Okay.
So
you got to help us understand the story. When you tell that, I have visions of Yellowstone. Tell me, were these wild horses? I mean, what's the story here?
They're wild. They're kind of feral horses. They're not Mustangs, but they're not proper Mustangs, but they're wild horses from the Wind River Reservation in Wyoming. They used public funds to actually hundreds of thousands of dollars to round them up, and us and other sanctuaries all over the country just had to help. So we picked them up out of a kill pen in Colorado, and we know from that kill pen that their moms were there just up until they were all sent off. And we have extremely amazing care. Eric Kraut is our director of wellness, and he exclusively has been handling them. Sadly, they came sick, and we lost one. One passed away. but the rest of them now are thriving and have gotten over the illness that they contracted there.
And what will their lives be like at the sanctuary?
We have one that baby that came a month old. I mean, he is a living example of success. And this is the path for these babies as well. They will be trained. Eric Kraut initially works with them when they're tiny, when they're babies, and then we move them on to Trevor Howard, who is basically the best trainer and horseman in the West, not just here in town. And so he works with us and has just an incredible innate ability to understand these animals and get them on the right path. And they will be adopted out, and they will be and they will people will love them. They're wonderful, wonderful babes.
So they're not necessarily spending the rest of their lives at the sanctuary.
Our goal is to get them into homes where they could have fulfilling, wonderful lives, which they all deserve and ought to have. They just need the foundation we can give them.
So that's interesting. I take it then that the sanctuary has what I would call multiple paths. I mean, for some of these animals, they're probably near the end of their lives, and do you expect those animals to stay there for the rest of their lives?
Yeah, the oldest animal we have on property is probably about 11 years old, and a horse could live till 30, let's say. So, but truly, we prefer to bring in the younger horses to be able to give them a whole brand new life, basically. So we have a few Mustangs, pretty much, that are there in sanctuary.
But other than that, it's interesting. So it's a path to take them out of the kill sanctuary, or the kill pipeline, if you will, and provide them with an alternative way to become viably adopted.
Absolutely. We want to save their lives and give them new fulfilling lives.
That's such a great thing. One of the things I just wanted to talk with you about is, some of your efforts with regarding to passing the SAFE Act. How does, that affect your fundraising when you're working locally, as well as, as you said, like Wyoming, Colorado, and then you've got a national effort as well?
I mean, I think it just amplifies things because, we are working on a coordinated basis. I'm on a biweekly national horse slaughter call that works with Animal Wellness Action in Washington to really help pass and strategize to pass the SAFE Act. But this is something that needs to get passed. It needs to be added to the 2023 Farm Bill, which is being voted on soon. And it will simply add the words "and equine" to a dog and cat bill. So dogs and cats, which aren't exported for slaughter either. So we just want to add "and equine" to the dogs and cats. And it's something that should have been done already. We need, as a country, to get behind this, and you can email your legislator to share your view.
And just to be clear, so what it would do is it would ban the export of horses for the purpose of slaughter.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
And then let the sanctuaries do the rest. We'll take care of those horses.
Okay. Can you tell us how people can find out more about Liberty Sanctuary?
Yes. Visit us in Heber or come to our website, www.libertysanctuary.org. We are also at Liberty Sanctuary on Facebook and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much. We have been speaking with Liberty Sanctuary and Deborah West.